Have you ever read a book that felt like a wild, untamed storm? One that leaves you breathless, a little heartbroken, but completely captivated? Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most intense, passionate, and haunting love stories ever written. Emily Brontë's masterpiece, Wuthering Heights. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's journey to the windswept moors of Yorkshire. Our story begins in 1801 with a man named Lockwood, the new tenant at a place called Thrushcross Grange. He's a bit of a city slicker and completely unprepared for his landlord, the brooding and mysterious Heathcliff, who lives at the nearby, more rustic estate, Wuthering Heights. Lockwood's visit is awkward, to say the least. He's met with hostility and finds himself stuck there overnight due to a snowstorm. While staying in a disused room, he discovers old diaries and is even visited by what he thinks is the ghost of a woman named Catherine, crying to be let in. Spooked and intrigued, Lockwood asks his housekeeper, Nellie Dean, to tell him the story of Heathcliff and the strange inhabitants of Wuthering Heights. And that's where our real story begins. Nellie Dean takes us back 30 years. She was a servant at Wuthering Heights, which was owned by the Earnshaw family. One day, Mr. Earnshaw returns from a trip to Liverpool with a surprise, a dark, ragged, homeless boy whom he names Heathcliff. The Earnshaw children, Hindley and Catherine, have very different reactions. Hindley immediately despises Heathcliff, seeing him as a rival for his father's affection. But Catherine, or Cathy, forms an instant, unbreakable bond with the boy. They become inseparable, two wild spirits roaming the moors, their souls seemingly intertwined. Life at Wuthering Heights is happy for a time, but everything changes when Mr. Earnshaw passes away. Hindley, now the master of the house, takes his revenge. He reduces Heathcliff to the status of a common servant, treating him with cruelty and contempt. Despite this, the bond between Catherine and Heathcliff only deepens. They are everything to each other. One day, their adventures take them to the neighboring estate, Thrushcross Grange, home to the wealthy and refined Linton family. They spy on the Linton children, Edgar and Isabella, and are caught. Catherine is injured by a dog and is forced to stay at the Grange to recover. When she returns to Wuthering Heights 5 weeks later, she's a changed woman. She's no longer the wild girl of the moors, but a polished, elegant lady. This transformation creates a rift between her and Heathcliff. He feels she's slipping away from him, drawn to the world of civility and wealth that Edgar Linton represents. This is the turning point. Catherine, torn between her wild, profound love for Heathcliff and her desire for social standing and comfort, makes a fateful decision. In a famous, heart-wrenching scene, she confides in Nellie Dean that while her soul belongs to Heathcliff, she cannot marry him because it would degrade her. Instead, she agrees to marry Edgar Linton, believing she can use his wealth and status to help Heathcliff. Heathcliff overhears the part about it degrading her to marry him, and heartbroken, he vanishes from Wuthering Heights without a word. Catherine is devastated by his departure and falls gravely ill. She eventually recovers and marries Edgar, settling into life as the mistress of Thrushcross Grange. For a few years, things are relatively peaceful, but the storm is just gathering. 3 years later, Heathcliff returns. But he is no longer the poor, ragged boy. He is now a wealthy, polished, and dangerously bitter gentleman. His return throws everyone's lives into chaos. He's come back with one purpose: revenge. Revenge on Hindley for the years of abuse, and revenge on Catherine and Edgar for what he sees as their betrayal. He begins by systematically ruining Hindley, who has fallen into alcoholism and gambling after his wife's death. Heathcliff lends him money, taking advantage of his weaknesses until he becomes the master of Wuthering Heights itself. Next, he turns his attention to the Lintons. He cruelly courts Edgar's innocent sister Isabella not because he loves her, but to hurt Edgar and make Catherine jealous. Despite Catherine's warnings, the naive Isabella is infatuated and elopes with him. She soon discovers his true monstrous nature, and her life becomes a living nightmare. The tension between Heathcliff and Edgar, with Catherine caught in the middle, becomes unbearable. Her mind and body, already fragile, begin to break under the strain. She locks herself away, refusing to eat, torn apart by her conflicting loyalties and her undying destructive love for Heathcliff. In a final, climactic confrontation, Heathcliff sneaks in to see the now dying Catherine. They share a raw, passionate, and agonizing final moment, clinging to each other, trading accusations and declarations of a love that has destroyed them both. Catherine dies shortly after giving birth to a daughter, also named Catherine, or Cathy for short. Heathcliff is utterly shattered. He begs Catherine's spirit to haunt him, to never leave him in peace, for he cannot live without his soul. The first half of the story ends here, but Heathcliff's revenge is far from over. It now stretches into the next generation. Isabella eventually escapes Heathcliff and gives birth to his son, a sickly and frail boy named Linton. Hindley also dies, leaving his own son Hareton in Heathcliff's care. Heathcliff raises Hareton not as a nephew, but as an uneducated servant, mirroring the treatment he himself received from Hindley. He molds Hareton into a reflection of his own degraded youth. Years pass. The young Cathy grows up at Thrushcross Grange, sheltered from the dark world of Wuthering Heights by her father Edgar. But fate, or rather Heathcliff's careful planning, intervenes. Cathy eventually meets her cousin Hareton, and later, her other cousin, the weak and petulant Linton Heathcliff. Heathcliff's master plan is to force a marriage between his son Linton and young Cathy. Why? To secure his ownership of Thrushcross Grange upon Edgar's death, completing his total victory over the Linton family. He manipulates and terrorizes the young people, trapping Cathy at Wuthering Heights and forcing her to marry the dying Linton. Her father, Edgar, passes away believing his daughter is safe, and Heathcliff's revenge is finally complete. He owns both Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. He has destroyed everyone who ever wronged him, but victory is hollow. Linton Heathcliff soon dies, leaving Cathy a young, impoverished widow, trapped at Wuthering Heights with her two tormentors, the bitter Heathcliff and the uncultured Hareton, whom she scorns. It seems like the cycle of hate will continue forever. But here a flicker of hope appears. Despite their initial hostility, a slow, tentative connection begins to form between Cathy and Hareton. She mocks his illiteracy, but he is determined to learn for her. She, in turn, starts to see past his rough exterior and recognizes the kind, noble heart that Heathcliff tried so hard to crush. They begin to read together, and slowly, gently, they fall in love. Their budding romance is a reflection of what Catherine and Heathcliff's could have been, but redeemed and free from the poison of pride and revenge. As Heathcliff watches this new love blossom, something inside him begins to change. He sees echoes of his Catherine in young Cathy's eyes and in Hareton's features. The desire for revenge that has driven him for decades starts to fade, replaced by an all-consuming obsession with being reunited with his lost love. He stops eating, starts seeing Catherine's ghost everywhere, and wanders the moors in a daze. His earthly fight is over. One morning, Nellie finds Heathcliff dead in his room, a strange, joyful smile on his face, having seemingly found peace in his reunion and death. He is buried, as he wished, next to Catherine. The story ends with Lockwood visiting their graves. The local country folk claim to have seen the ghosts of Heathcliff and Catherine roaming the moors together, finally at peace and united. The cycle of hate is broken, and the future, embodied by the love of young Cathy and Hareton, is one of hope and healing. Wuthering Heights isn't just a love story. It's a powerful exploration of obsession, revenge, social class, and the untamable forces of nature, both in the wild landscape and within the human heart. It's a story that stays with you long after you've finished it. What do you think? Is this the greatest, most tragic love story ever told? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into a literary classic, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into great stories, and share this video with a fellow book lover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.